It all is happening on the day that El Salvador's Bitcoin law is going into effect. I can't say that I'm not entertained. The timing of this is quite tremendous. So, El Salvador announced in early June that it was going to be making Bitcoin legal tender in the country. That went live today. Um, we have this phenomenon of President Bukele tweeting as though he is Michael Saylor and rallying the Bitcoin bulls to buy the dip to save this plan. It's quite striking to watch. That's all I have to say on the matter. Really interesting to see this stuff start to be spun up. We've already seen a bit of viral tweet love around a payment integration with McDonald's in the country, which was able to accept payment over the Lightning Network in what was later disclosed to be a tie-up with OpenNode, which is a Lightning firm. Other service providers are also rushing in the space to usher in this new era of Bitcoin as legal tender in El Salvador. So the market is certainly watching that today, as is the greater world. This is a big story that has captivated a lot of people's attention over the summer, and for it to come to fruition on the day in which the markets appear to be tanking quite sharply really is something. Always something in this space. Really interesting to watch. I'm going to throw this to you, Will. Aside from the timing in terms of El Salvador and market activity in the Bitcoin world, what stands out to you as this thing goes live?
Just welcome to Bitcoin, El Salvador. This is how it goes. Like your first entrance in, you get punched right in the teeth. So if you can't handle it, then I guess walk right back out. That's just kind of how the way this market works. I think in general it is hilarious that he said, like, we're going to buy the dip. Did not see that coming. Did not seeing a president of a country tweeting that ever, but it happened today. Also noting the OpenNode integration with McDonald's. That was really fascinating. Someone else had a really great tweet this morning about how all these exchanges in the cryptocurrency world have refused to add Lightning to their protocol stack, but McDonald's did it before them. I think if Naomi was on the show today, we would kind of note that the reason a lot of these businesses are adding Bitcoin to their payment flows is because they're legally obligated to do so. So I think El Salvador is going to be like a really interesting case study when we're looking at Bitcoin adoption, because it's like legally enforced as opposed to a voluntary way that it's been kind of pushed beforehand. Like everyone's kind of been like, hey, go and add OpenNode or go and add something that allows you to take Bitcoin payments. But in El Salvador, you have to do it. So it'd be interesting to see who is working with the Salvadorian government or businesses down there, like who chooses to interact with them and kind of help them get off on their feet. Those are my only thoughts. I'm going to throw it down to you, Jen.
Yeah, I'm so divided on this because we're getting this like interesting peek into the future where McDonald's is accepting Bitcoin and we're seeing we've seen something play out over the last 3 months in a really rapid fashion. Like we just learned the other day that this was going to come to fruition, and here it is, the big day. What's interesting to me, Zach, Will and Zach, you mentioned that it's now businesses are now legally obligated to accept Bitcoin. But didn't the president tweet like last week that that businesses don't have to? So I'm just looking for some clarity there. It's unclear if they have to accept Bitcoin or if they don't have to accept Bitcoin, and it's still really sad that this is juxtaposed against the protests that we talked about last week. You know, we're peering into the future, but the people seem like they're not completely sold on it. And I just really would love to see more education there. And I would love to see the people of El Salvador actually be excited about this. And I don't think that we've seen that yet.
No, I mean, we've seen some of the optionality come to the fore, right? We've seen it in a series of salty tweets. We've seen President Bukele suggest that, hey, this is optional. You know, if you want to go to Western Union and pay a bunch of fees on your cross-border payments, hey, by all means, go for it. So he's pulled back, I think, some of the mandatory enforcement aspect, but it's certainly codified in law as something that is going to be required of the nation's merchants. And that's why we're seeing a lot of activity around adoption. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's really an interesting case study in like governance, right? We talk about governance as this pie in the sky crypto thing, often in the world of DeFi. But here we have an actual government making governance decisions around the future of finance in a country that has long been impoverished and has long had challenges. And for this to have been rolled out in short order, the way it has been rolled out with a splashy, glitzy announcement at a major Bitcoin conference in June to now today, it going live as law in this country, I think to me reflects you know, a lot of that sort of consensus building may not have been done adequately. And I think that's why you're seeing these polls reflect that in terms of public sentiment. Nate, really curious for your thoughts on the El Salvador situation before we take a quick break.
Yeah, one point as to why this is probably very sensitive for a lot of El Salvadorians is that when it comes to countries and like international economics, generally you have this issue called the Impossible Trinity, where you can have only 2 out of the 3, like a fixed exchange rate, free capital flows, so like no tariffs or whatnot, and independent monetary policy. And you got to give up one of those in order to have the other 2. And so here for so long, El Salvador has given up their independent monetary policy because they've been on the U.S. dollar. So they've always been dependent on whatever the U.S. Federal Reserve does in terms of setting interest rates. So here, there was an option, like Spain had kind of indicated that it wanted its central bank digital currency to be an independent currency, to kind of be something that would be separate from the euro. So like El Salvador had that option possibly, in digital assets and whatnot, and instead just decided to go with Bitcoin, which is, its own kind of, there's all discussion about whether or not it can serve as a means of payment. So that's kind of the reason why people are going to feel very strongly about this move and the change in the country.